Diane Sawyer, Sam Donaldson, and Chief Correspondent Chris Wallace.
It's one thing to say it on television,
Susan,
or to a whole airport.
I'm gay.
Another to tell your mother.
She said, I'm gay, and started to cry.
Tonight, Betty DeGeneres, on the day she learned the truth. And Ellen's older brother, Vance, with whom she says she shared more than memories.
I think we dated a couple of the same girls. that was a weird thing.
And finally, a painful event revisited.
They loved me and I loved them, and they didn't want me in the house.
A father looks back.
Well, if I did, I think I was wrong. It's that simple.
Tonight, how one family grappled with the revelation, and how a television star now looks ahead to life off screen.
Do you want children?
Ian, don't you remember who I am, huh?
One of our most emotional stories ever. These are the faces of missing children stolen by one parent from another.
You know he's out there somewhere. You just don't know where.
In the desperate fight over custody, hundreds of thousands of children are abducted every year and often forced to live like fugitives.
Most of the windows in the trailer were boarded up. Had a lot of rats, cockroaches.
Tonight, you'll see the long-awaited reunion.
I said, Dad, Dad. And then I ran over to him and gave him a hug.
And the one still waiting to happen.
Holly, if you can hear me in there, this is your dad. I love you.
John Quinones follows the trail, and Primetime does what law enforcement didn't do. Finds a missing child.
Can we talk to you about why you fled the U.S. with your daughter?
They make us laugh and delight both young and old. But there's more to this circus act than meets the eye. The tricks these dogs have learned may have saved their lives.
From ABC News, this is Prime Time. Now from Los Angeles, Diane Sawyer.
Good evening. The Ellen episode has run. The drumbeat of attention will soon end. But in homes all around the country, the drama will continue, because every day another boy or girl realizes he or she is gay and must decide whether or not to tell their parents. For some teenagers, it is a moment of life-threatening dread and despair. In our interview last week, Ellen DeGeneres said, at least when you're black, your parents are saying, we're all in this together. When you're gay, your parents are saying, how did this happen? You are a minority in your own family. Tonight, a gay daughter and her anxious parents. One family's story.
We were walking along the beach, and with our pants rolled up and barefoot, and the water was coming in.
On the beach in Pass Christian, Mississippi, at my sister's house.
I said, I'm in love. And she said, that's great. And I said, it's with a woman.
And she said, I'm gay, and started to cry. And we hugged. Maybe I cried with her.
Do you remember what you asked her? Anything you asked her?
Probably, are you sure? Or how do you know? Or when did it happen?
Had you suspected she was gay?
No. She had boyfriends in high school. She had a promise ring from somebody that was a little tiny little diamond.
And you weren't horrified at all?
No, I wasn't horrified. Worried.
The most ironic thing about this is that her whole fear was, who's going to take care of you? You're not going to meet a man, and who's going to take care of you?
I was from that school where you grew up, you got married, you had a husband, and he took care of things. And we stayed out there a while, and then we went back because all the family was there. And that's the way I remember it.
Betty DeGeneres says she never argued with her daughter, but did keep thinking, hoping perhaps she would change.
At times when I would have problems in relationships, she would say, now you see, why don't you just, give this up and meet a nice boy, and, why don't you just... She really just kept thinking it was a phase.
Well, it certainly would have been easier on her if it had been. This is not an easy thing. It's not an easy way of life, but it's who she is.
She never has understood it, and I don't think she understands it now, but she loves me, and she sees how happy I am.
I don't guess I need to get on a soapbox here about people who say it's a choice or this or that or it's wrong. It's who she is, and it's who so many people in this world are, who are creative and productive and wonderful, wonderful contributing members of society.
Why are you so sure this is not a choice?
Well, because I know Ellen. I know my daughter. And she has even said if it were a choice, she'd be with a man. It would be so much easier. But life isn't easy, and she's doing the very best she can. That's it.
They are a couple of improbable pioneers, this mother, this daughter. That's Betty DeGeneres making one of her cameo appearances in a promo for the sitcom.
You know, Elvis bought his mom a car. She didn't even do a promo for him. All right, I'll buy you a car.
And she was there tonight, too, at the central moment in the hour.
I'm so afraid to tell people. I mean, Susan, I'm gay.
She was a middle American mom who would take pride that her daughter would grow up to become one of the cleanest acts in comedy. In fact, DeGeneres had her breakthrough appearance on The Tonight Show with a tender, funny telephone conversation with God.
Just pick up the phone and call up God. Listen, if you weren't too busy... Sure, hold on. Somebody's at the gate.
And now DeGeneres is a target of an inflamed religious right. The day of our interview, on the back page of Variety, an ad signed by people like Jerry Falwell, Phyllis Schlafly. They say it's a slap in the face to America's family.
I'd like to know how many people in that list have relatives in their own families who are gay. You know, Ellen is such a good person. Now, I don't want to get weepy. I don't. But she's so good that she shouldn't have all this directed at her.
A good person, even a good little baby, her mother says. Though the parents would later divorce, the little girl was happy, loving dresses, dolls, and her older brother Vance, who treated her like a pest. Vance, who's now a writer on his sister's show, joined his mother for part of the interview. His sister says she remembers the moment she told him, too. Was he surprised?
I don't know if... Yeah, I guess he was a little ashamed about it, I think.
I can't imagine that I was ashamed. Mm-hmm. Do you remember me having a problem with this?
No.
Please bail me out here. If that's true, she should, she should hit me with a 2x4 or something for that. She gets a free shot for that.
One free shot.
Yeah.
Next week, the show has an episode in which the TV Ellen tells her divorcing parents.
Honey, just because you haven't found the right man doesn't mean you're gay. I mean, you're just very choosy, and there's nothing wrong with being choosy.
I'm not attracted to any men.
No, that's too choosy.
Some of it seems rooted in memory.
The DeGenereses just were not big talkers in the house. You didn't talk about things.
If it wasn't pleasant.
Even if it was pleasant.
Oh, really?
We didn't talk about stuff, no.
You always wanted me to be open and honest with you.
Oh no, honey, that's what you wanted. Now, we were always very happy keeping our feelings bottled up.
So the real-life brother and sister, with similar senses of humor, resorted to jokes.
I think we dated a couple of the same girls. That was a weird thing. He didn't like that.
I think we did actually date a couple of the same people, as odd as that sounds. And it sounds odd, I agree, but, New Orleans is a small town. What is it, 800-900 people or something, so you're bound to date the same people anyway,
And there's one more family member not heard from. Those of you who watched us last week may remember that it was still difficult for Ellen DeGeneres to speak about what happened 20 years ago, when she told her father and his new wife her secret, and their reaction was...
The woman he's married to had 2 daughters, and they asked me to move out of the house after that. And, I mean, they just thought it would be better for me to, you know, live somewhere else. And I've never really, like, acknowledged that, but that was bad. Because they loved me and I loved them, and they didn't want me in the house.
If I did, I think I was wrong. This is that simple.
This is her father, Elliot DeGeneres. He says he doesn't remember the details, but does remember the family turmoil about his daughter in their house.
It was our perception, my perception at the time, I guess, that they didn't think that was a good idea. But I guess...
And what did she say? What kind of concern did she express?
Well, just the fact of Ellen's situation and some girl activity, that sort of thing.
Would you want your father to apologize?
No, I think they'll be shocked that I actually said this, and they'll probably be somewhat embarrassed by it. And I don't mean to embarrass them. I'm not saying it to embarrass them, because my dad does love me, and my stepmother is a huge fan, and that was their ignorance. You know, they just didn't know.
Was it ignorance? I don't know. I'd never really studied it or read about it or thought about it. I guess when you don't have all the facts on anything, that's a factor of some ignorance, I guess.
DeGeneres has told us that she's talked to so many gay people who were treated with real rejection and abuse by their parents. She knows she's one of the lucky ones. More about her life today in a moment. Next week, when all the headlines about the Ellen episode finally recede, a real woman will still be living with the consequences of her decision. She has said she had to take the risk, that this was not a decision about TV programming, but about being honest and unafraid in your life. So we ask more about her off-screen life. Are you in a relationship now?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Very happy.
Forever, maybe?
I think it's forever, yeah. Yeah. That's a good feeling. It's the first time I've ever felt like forever.
This weekend at a black-tie dinner in Washington, she appeared with actress Anne Heche, who says whatever the career risk, the truth matters more. There's even a ring. Has there been a ceremony?
No. No ceremony. No. Just commitment.
What do you look for in a woman?
The same things anybody looks for in anything. I mean, whatever. I think intelligence, a sense of humor, a sense of fun, someone who's very strong and independent, and, you know, just somebody that you totally get and gets you.
Do you want children?
Do I want children?
Mm-hmm.
I would love to have children. I don't want to have them. I don't want to have that thing inside of me and come out.
You should write science textbooks.
Yeah.
I'd be the best grandmother.
Yes. And how do you feel about marriage for her?
Well, I feel so threatened by it, and people who are in loving relationships that go on for 25, 30 years, and yet they have no legal recourse if one of them's deathly ill in the hospital. You know, if the world doesn't want to call it marriage, let them call it a legal commitment. But it should happen.
Will you campaign for it?
I don't know. I mean, I'm not going to say no to anything, but I don't see myself campaigning for anything. I would like to, my opinion is, if somebody's asking me, yes, that it should be legal. But I don't want to be some political activist.
Even without the politics, she knows there's a risk.
I didn't have much money growing up, and I'll be fine if I don't have a lot of money after this. I like nice things. I love my house. And but it's not what life is about.
And so it's done. Another milestone as television continues to mirror changes in American life. At home tonight, somewhere, a real son or daughter will probably say the same words to real parents who will grapple with what to do.
They may be shocked, they may be surprised, hurt. I don't know what emotions different people go through, but they should certainly be supportive. It's a struggle for the person going through it.
And Elliot DeGeneres says you don't want to have to look back years later and realize that you hurt someone you cared for so. Have you changed today about this issue?
Oh,
would you
sure.
Would you do that?
Because, you see, I love Ellen. She's somebody I've always loved and I always will, and I love her. And I don't have a whole bunch of great qualities, but one of them is loyalty. And that and love go together.
As for Ellen DeGeneres, she told us if she were phoning God today, it would simply be to say thanks. And we leave you with what she told us last week about the small celebration after the taping of tonight's show.
We celebrated. We screamed and celebrated and cheered, and there's a line in the show that I say to Oprah, to the therapist, nobody ever gives you a cake that says, good for you, you're gay. And they wheeled out a huge cake that said, good for you, you're gay. And gave me a great picture of Laura Dern and I at the moment that I say I'm gay. And just felt literally this like I was filled with joy.
And as we close, we're going to repeat a government statistic that a gay teenager is some 3 times as likely to attempt suicide as another teenager. Ellen DeGeneres has said whatever happens to her, tonight's broadcast was in part to hold on to them.